your objective explanation of events happening worldwide while only taking 10 minutes out of your day.
We hope you had a great week.
I'm Maddie Welch.
And I'm Andrea Gauthier.
Welcome to the show.
We've recently done a survey asking if you guys think that discrimination for African Americans still exists today.
83% out of the people we surveyed still believe that is true. To support this subject, we have 3 topics for this segment of 60 Minutes.
First up, we have Black Lives Matter.
There was a huge protest in Dallas, Texas recently. Here's Kiara Ankrum to further explain.
Black Lives Matter has been in and out in the news a lot recently. African Americans have been taking their voices to the streets and fighting for what they believe is right. A protest in Dallas, Texas has the whole world shaking with fear about the killings of 4 black men by a white police officer. It was September 24th, 2017, when around 2,000 African Americans hit the streets of downtown Dallas to protest Black Lives Matter. The meaning of Black Lives Matter has caused a nationwide debate, but these African Americans knew the real meaning. Local resident and parade participant Josh Williamson says, "If you were to look at the crowd from above, you would see hundreds of posters, body paint, and love all around for our people. The crowd was ecstatic and cheering and yelling their opinions and feelings about the brutal killings of their fellow African Americans of both genders," Williamson said. But what Williamson and a couple thousand other African Americans didn't know at the time, that what was a peaceful protest in the night quickly turned deadly as a white police officer, Amber Geiger, shot and killed 4 African American males. A total of 11 other people were injured from this violent action. A year later, Geiger was found guilty and arrested for the murder of the 4 African Americans. The victims' families were so filled with relief, happiness, and justice as their loved one's killer had finally got what she deserved. This proves that African American population won't stop until justice is served for their people.
Thank you, Kiara.
And thank you, viewers, for watching this segment of 60 Minutes. We will be right back after this quick break.
I'm the manager of UPS, and I'm the manager of FedEx. We're collaborating together making FedEx. Are you fed up with Amazon delivering beat-up packages? Are you fed up with eBay delivering days later than intended? Then trust FedUp to deliver everything in the best quality and way. We ship home decor, appliances, games, art supplies, automotive parts, and electric accessories, baby supplies, beauty supplies, and many more, like books, CDs, vinyl, cell phones, and accessories, clothing, shoes, jewelry, and computers. And don't forget about digital music, electronics, garden and outdoors, gift cards, toys, games, pet supplies, office products, movies and TVs, and video games.
And we're back.
Back to the topic on hand, African Americans discrimination. Lately, there's been a lot happening. Alexis Campbell further explains the situation.
Over the years, discrimination against African Americans has decreased greatly, but still exists in some areas of society. Even though some may say they don't see or experience it on a daily, it happens very frequently in all communities. Going into more depth with this topic, I have found very many cases that deal with police brutality, and the ending result turning out to be that a young African American man or woman has been killed by a police officer. One big reason for this type of result is most likely because of the way he or she looks. Found in research that African Americans are 3 times more likely to be killed by a police officer than a Caucasian person. According to the data, 30% of black victims who were unarmed in 2015 compared to 21% of Caucasian victims and other races who had been armed. About 13 of the largest U.S. cities' police departments kill black men at a higher rate than the U.S. murder rate. As I said in the beginning, discrimination still exists for African Americans in our society. Over 45 years ago, an event took place as we would know it as Bloody Sunday. It was a day of harsh experience for the African American race. This day, many women, children, men were injured and beaten, and possibly even killed from the injuries they experienced by white officers. Even though this day is bigger than some of the tragedies throughout history leading up to the present day, it gives us an example that police brutality against African Americans has been around for a very long time. In my opinion, it seems to me that it won't stop anytime soon, and as sad as it is to say that, it is the truth. I believe that young African Americans live in the most fear out of all the races due to the way they are targeted by police and the society we live in. For example, say a police officer had pulled you over because you were speeding a little above the speed limit. Now think of this and picture it and picture it in your head as well. This pullover will not be the same for any African American than it is for a Caucasian. The emotions are different. The way your interaction with the officer will be different. Your attitude and how you portray yourself to the officer will be different. African Americans have to be more careful and aware of what they're doing and how they're doing it, a certain task during the time of the interaction with the cop. For African Americans, it's more commonly and safer if the officer sees your hands. It is safer not to make any sudden moves on them, and it's safer to follow the direct orders of what they tell you to do it and how to do it. It is safer and easier to always make sure the officer knows what you're doing and what your next movement will be. Communication is key between African Americans and police officers. Now, don't get me wrong, Caucasians have to go through the whole process with the officers, but not as into depth and into detail as they do with African Americans. As our generation and generations behind us grow, talks and important information will be brought up to our attention. Now, all talks are different from each race, as we all don't experience the same quality as the other ones. Imagine that some parents have to give their children a talk on how to be safe but also smart around police and what to do and what not to do to make sure they get out of the situation without getting harmed.
Thank you, Alexis.
We'll be right back after this short break.
Hi, I'm Jordan Shaw, and I used to be the best of the best in snowboarding, until my recent fall, which was brutal. This has caused a big setback in my career. It took me years to recover from this tragic event, but now I'm back. It took a lot of courage, strength, and hard work, determination, and dedication. But I knew that I could do it. I had all my fans supporting me, watching me take on my rivals in the 2020 False Olympics. Just know if you can dream it, you can achieve it.
Welcome back. That reminds me, Andrea, have you heard about the recent real estate crisis?
Yeah, I have. The question is, have our viewers?
Here's Aspen with the story.
From 2000 to 2015, the African American house ownership rate reduced by 41.2%. The housing rate virtually has uncharged since 1968. House discrimination is illegal. There has been struggles with real estate and African Americans since the 20th century. There was a group of color actors. No matter where they were sent, the actors of color were shown a smaller amount of homes and were offered fewer discounts on mortgages or rent than the actors who were white. Shelley versus Kramer was a court case in 1948 about a family of color who bought a home and was unaware of restrictive convent placed on the property which prevented people of color to live in the house. A white man then sued the family to prevent them from living in the neighborhood. The court rejected the argument since state courts would enforce a restricted convent against the white people.
Thank you, Aspen. That's all the time we have today.
Thank you for checking us out.
I'm Andrea Gothier.
And I'm Maddie Welch, and we'll see you here next time on
60 Minutes.